Hello there and welcome to Loco for Leeds. It's my channel where we talk all things Leeds United, and today is something a bit different for you as we're playing Liverpool in the first game of the season and hotly anticipated game. I've got my brother and Liverpool fan James on the line today to discuss the game. How are you doing, James? How you going?
Yeah, I'm fine, thanks. I'm reeling from the Community Shield defeat yesterday, but yeah, looking forward to this one.
Yeah, it was a frustrating sort of day for you, that wasn't it? Arsenal did a bit of a job on you, didn't they? Really?
They did, yeah, they did. I mean, it's tempting to say, you see people say, "Oh, Liverpool lost or Arteta beat Klopp again." It was a draw at the end of the day, and then it's the shootouts. It's a lottery, isn't it? But yeah, we didn't play out. Definitely, we were a little bit clunky and not particularly fluid. But it's all good minutes in the legs, and it was a good test for Liverpool to play against a system I think they'll play against a lot this season. So hopefully they learned a little bit, and Klopp had a little look at a few different formations as well. Actually, in the second half, he changed it up a bit. So hopefully he's had a bit of time then to process and have a look and just have a think about what's the best way to approach games like that this season.
Yeah, I think that's it. And it was, people will say, "Oh, yeah, Arteta beat Klopp and he did a job on him." But like you say, it was a draw after the end of the day. It was just a penalty defeat, and it's obviously. How do you see the Community Shield though? Do you see it as a bit of a kind of still a bit of a friendly game, or is it the start of the season for you, or how do you always see it? Because
I think it depends. It depends a lot on who you're playing. I think, and the circumstances. And last season was a big one, just because City had pipped us to the title, and obviously we then went and won the Champions League. So, and it felt like a little bit more of a rivalry between the clubs. So it felt like there was a bit more on it. This time, obviously, the situation's different with no fans being in there, and the turnaround from the end of the season was obviously very short. So usually you'd have that big period where you're gearing up to it, and then it feels like that's the start of the season. But that's different this time. So I think it does depend on who you're playing a lot, and obviously probably if you won the league or if you won the cup is different as well. I think being the league winners, it feels like you should probably win it. But at the same time, for me, it doesn't matter. Obviously, during the game, you want to win, and it's frustrating when you don't. But you shake it off very quickly, and it doesn't really mean too much to me, to be honest.
no, I mean I think that's it. Isn't it? I think you're right in saying that when you're the league winners, you have that added bit more pressure than the FA Cup winners. I mean there was sort of talk of actually it changing up and being sort of the champions of the Championship against the champions of the Premier League, which of course would see our team come up against each other at Wembley. But obviously it didn't happen like that. But we are, of course, coming up against each other in a couple of weeks' time. First game of the season, hotly anticipated match. Our first game in the Premier League for 16 years. I mean, and it comes at the champions of England away at Anfield. Very hardest game. Like I think
Champions
that week
of the world.
Well, yeah, there you go. I mean, you see your badge on your chest there, which is sort of commemorative to that one, isn't it? Your club world, is that the Club World Champions? Is it
The World Cup? Yeah.
Yeah. So you've obviously won quite a few over the last few years, different trophies, and like I say, it's a really really tricky game for us this. Going into it, but I mean, how do you see this game going?
I think it's going to be a tight affair, to be honest. I think it's going to be a tactical battle. It might not be a great game. I think I don't see Leeds going for it, to be honest, which they shouldn't do. They should. It's the first game of the season. They should bide the time and see, just try and nullify the Liverpool threat initially, and then see what they can offer going forward. So I see it being a tight game. I think it'll be pretty much attack versus defence for a lot of it. Although obviously Leeds, it's not necessarily the way that Leeds play. But I do think that they will have to adapt, and they will play kind of a team that's set out to stop Liverpool attacking through the wide areas and to just try and make the pitch as small as they possibly can. So it'll be up to Liverpool to try and to play through that. It would be similar, I think, to the game yesterday. Bielsa will have been watching, I'm sure, and he will have taken many notes on how Arsenal pretty much effectively stopped Salah and Firmino really getting any kind of control of the game, and they also, pretty much nullified Liverpool's midfield. I think it will be a slightly different lineup that we see on the first game of the season. I'm expecting Keita to come in and hopefully he can provide that little spark that was missing really yesterday. But I think it'll be tight. I think Leeds aren't as bigger underdogs as many people would have them out to be in this game particularly, and I think I'd be happy with any kind of result really to kick off the season. I think at this stage it is more about results than performances. Get a few wins on the board, and then see where you are, 2 or 3 months down the line, really.
No, I think you're right. It will be quite a bit more closer than what a lot of people are saying, and we're sort of thinking. I mean, we see Liverpool first game of the season, and you think, oh God, away at Anfield where you haven't lost for 3.5 years, and you think, oh, that's going to be a tough one. We're going to get beat 3-4-0, but then you think, actually, no, we are a good side, and on his day, we can cause problems, and I think you're right. Will be quite a tight game. The first goal, obviously, the first goal in any game is important, but I think if we do get the first goal, it just gives us then something to kind of hang on to, and I think that we're not used to kind of being that kind of team that are sort of out of possession of the ball. We like to dominate the football, and I think it will be difficult. It'll be a change in the way that we play at Anfield, to be on the kind of back foot and be kind of the team who have to be on the counter attack, and that's sort of not the way that we traditionally play. I think we obviously under Bielsa we dominate the ball, and here it's going to be a different kind of match. I feel like Liverpool will dominate, and we have to adapt to that sort of situation.
Yeah, well, like Bielsa know he'll have a plan for every single game, I think, this season already. Obviously, things can change during the season. We still don't know how the squads will look at the end of the transfer window, so there are things that can change. But the way Liverpool play isn't a secret. Everybody knows where the threat is. That comes from the full backs, it comes from the 2 wide players coming in field, and it comes from Firmino dropping deep and pulling away the central defenders. It's not a secret. It's a really well-oiled machine, and it will be up to Klopp this season to try and maybe think outside the box a little bit and think of other ways where we can hurt teams, because it is becoming a little bit predictable. That doesn't mean to say that teams can stop it, but it is becoming a little bit predictable, and that's something that really does need to change. I think with Klopp, he tends to stumble upon these tactical ideas. He doesn't have obviously people talk about the gegenpressing and the high heavy metal football, which is something that you do associate with Klopp, but it's also not something that really you associate massively with this Liverpool team. He tends to stumble upon the way to play kind of organically. He plays around the players that he has. We have 2 exceptionally attacking fullbacks who are great at deliveries. They've got great passing and switching of play, and we have a striker who loves to drop deep, and 2 wingers who have a great eye for goal. So it's not necessarily by design. Obviously, it's not all by accident, but he has stumbled upon this more or less. So hopefully he can something will click that will just make us evolve slightly again. Whether that's a new signing, or whether that's a player like Keita or Minamino, whether that's the player who can just make us slightly adjust. I do think we need that. But yeah, Bielsa will have a plan either way, and I do expect it to be tight, but I do expect Liverpool to just about come out on top.
Yeah, like you say, I think it will be a tight match, and like you say, I think Bielsa will know. He will have watched Liverpool. He will have watched them yesterday. Yeah. No days off for him. He'll be in there. He might have even gone to the match. I don't know. But yeah, you are.
With his binoculars.
Yeah, well, that's it.
Right.
Yeah, well, I think they'll be having a few of them at the training ground, won't they? There'll be a bit more high security this season. But yeah, I think that's it. I think he'll have a plan. He'll know how to kind of stop Liverpool. Like you say, whether teams and Leeds can stop Liverpool is another matter, really. But it'll be interesting to see how it all pans out. But I think today we're going to have a look at sort of past games that Leeds and Liverpool have had together. I mean, there's one that sticks out in my mind, of course, is the 4-3 game where Mark Viduka got all 4 goals and at Ellen Road, and that was a great day. But is there any that stick out to you, James, that you can?
To be fair, that is the one really that sticks out. We were obviously relatively young when it was still when the teams were playing regularly, so it is the one that really sticks out as well. I remember we were having a freezer delivered that day. I don't know if you remember that. And
I do remember that, yeah.
The man seemed to be on top of the score. He seemed to know the score, and that was the way that we were being kept up to date on it.
Yeah.
We got all 4, and I don't remember who scored for Liverpool, but I think Owen used to tend to have a score a lot against Leeds. But yeah, that's the one that I really remember as being the Leeds Liverpool games. I can't even recall any other ones just off the top of my head even. So that's the one that I always kind of go to. But I mean, I think it was a misrepresentation. I think Liverpool did still tend to win when the two teams met.
I think they did actually. I think that was kind of a bit of a kind of one-off sort of thing. I think. I don't even remember when that was. Was it like 2000, 2001 maybe?
Yeah, maybe 2001, 2002.
Yeah,
that kind of area.
Yeah, I mean, it was a great win that. But yeah, I do tend to remember that Liverpool did have the upper hand. When it came to games. I mean, we obviously haven't played you for obviously in the league since 20 obviously 2004. I can't actually remember what their results were. Those two games.
No, I have no idea as well, and I'm sure it was something obviously we're keeping an eye on at the time. But I genuinely can't remember.
I think it were a draw maybe at Ellen Road, and
I think you're right.
You might
I think it was a draw at Anfield as well. Yeah. If I'm right, actually, but I can't. I honestly can't remember. It's been such a long time, and that just goes to show just how long it has been, really. I mean, obviously, I can recall many games over the past 20 years or so, but the ones with Leeds are just so far in the memory that I can't even recall them. So obviously we had the League Cup. Or was it FA Cup? It was League Cup,
we played you
at Anfield.
We played you twice in the League Cup.
Yeah, once at Road.
That's it, and once at Anfield.
That was a 2-0, wasn't it? Ben Woodburn scored the second, and I think at Anfield Road it was 1-0. I think Origi possibly scored the winner in that.
No, it were Ungog.
Of course, it's longer ago.
It were
09 or something.
I think it was 2009. Yeah.
I do
1-0 at Ellen Road. I think we give you quite a good game that day, but again at Anfield it was quite tight for the majority of the. I think was it 2 second half goals or.
Yes, it was. I think Wijnaldum possibly scored the first, and then Ben Woodburn. But again, it's kind of slipped my memory. But it was memorable for Ben Woodburn.
This is going to be this is a massive game for both teams. Obviously, Liverpool defending their title for the first time ever. It's our first game in the Premier League for 16 years, and. How do you see Liverpool doing this season? Do you think you'll defend your title, or do you think you'll find it a little bit more difficult to overcome teams?
I think it will be more difficult. Like I say, teams have worked out. It's not a secret the way that Liverpool play. I think teams know now that who to stop and the way you need to play to nullify Liverpool. So it's up to Liverpool to do something a bit different. Unfortunately, it doesn't really look as if that's going to come from new signings, which I think it is a mistake and it's a worry for all Liverpool fans. Really, we're not being greedy. We don't want a massive overhaul. We just need somebody who can come in either as a backup and for the front three who do just need a rest sometimes, or if it's somebody who can come into that midfield and walk into the starting 11 and just refresh that slightly. Obviously, Thiago is the one which has been linked heavily, and that was a real surprise for me. Actually, it wasn't something that I expected.
No.
Going into the summer that would be after a player of that kind of profile, but it makes a lot of sense when you think about it. And we do have a lot of options in midfield, but it's also for me the one area where we can improve the starting 11 readily or add something different. So I think he would be a super signing if they can do it. So it does depend really a little bit on that, and also on injuries. We've been very lucky the last few years with the front three in particular staying fit all the time. So I think it's going to be a lot more difficult, and I think as fans we need to probably get used to the fact that we're not going to be winning really every week, and just temper the expectations slightly. I mean, the big one obviously is if Messi goes to Man City, which seems like it could actually be a possibility, which would make life very difficult indeed. But these players have huge mentality, and they have now experience of winning important titles. And winning the league title is a huge experience for all players, and something that they'll take on board and something that they'll take into the season. And that, it wouldn't be a surprise to me if we did end up winning it again. But at the same time, I do think we need to just maybe adjust our expectations slightly. Because if you think about it, I mean, 18-19 the 2 seasons ago, when we went so close with City. The year before that, we just about scraped into the top 4. I mean, we were relatively comfortable, but at the end of the season we had a bit of a dip, and top 4 was a big success for us. And in the summer, everyone said it'll be City and Liverpool, which kind of came from nowhere, really. So we had a big jump in quite a small amount of time, and our expectations have obviously gone through the roof now. But I think for us, another title challenge would be a success, and obviously if we can win it, then fantastic. If we fall short, then there's no kind of disgrace in falling short to City. We'll just have to wait and see. I do hope that we can just work out a different way of playing, because it has gone slightly stale.
Yeah, I mean, I think personally, I think you'll win it or you'll come very, very close, because I think City will be out to get you, won't they, this time? I think when you start on 0 points, they won't want anything to, they won't want another season like last season where they fall so short of it. Liverpool, like you say, maybe just need to freshen up the way they play, possibly get maybe 1 or 2 signings in. Thiago would be a great signing, wouldn't he, really, to add to it. But the owners have been ambitious recently, obviously. That'll take me on to talking about what you feel about our signings and the policy of how we're going about it. I mean, we brought in, as we're recording it yesterday, we brought in Rodrigo, smashed our record transfer fee. And then later on in the day, we brought in Robin Koch from Freiburg. So it's 2 international players. How do you see that? How do you see them sort of fitting in, and what do you see? What do you make of our sort of transfer policy? Going into this Premier League season.
Yeah, good. I think it's two quality players coming in, which can only be a good thing. It doesn't help to have international players of 2 of the best footballing teams of the last 10-15 years. I think it doesn't help. It doesn't do any harm to have players of that caliber in and around the squad. Definitely, I do think a bit of Premier League experience might not have gone amiss. And I know there were other options, but the good players, they'll hopefully slot straight in. And I think it's I mean, it's surprising a little bit to see Leeds spending so much money, given the kind of the current climate. But at the same time, I think you don't really have a choice when you go up to the Premier League. You do have to put your money where your mouth is, and you have to strengthen. The windfall, the financial gains of being in the Premier League are obviously so big that it does make signings like this possible. And obviously the better players you bring in, not necessarily the more expensive, but obviously it's a correlation between the price of a player and the quality of him. You need quality players to stay in the Premier League, and I think Koch was actually a very good deal. I think he was about 13 million, was it, in the end?
Yeah, it was. Yeah, it was fantastic.
It seems like a steal, really. When you think about what Brighton were wanting for Ben White, and when you look at that in comparison, and obviously I've watched a lot of Bundesliga the last few years. I do like the look of Koch, and he's obviously managed to force his way into a German setup, which I mean, to be fair, they are lacking a little bit at the back, but he's still managed to get in there. He's still 24. I think that was a really good deal, to be honest, and I'm excited to see how he manages to slot in alongside Cooper, who despite his experience in the football leagues, I don't think he's never made a mark in the Premier League. I think he's played actually once or twice.
It's a question for you, actually. I was going to give you, James. Cooper has played in the Premier League. He made his debut for Hull, but do you know who he came up against for his debut? I think it's actually his only one and only Premier League appearance.
Well, I'm going to say Liverpool, is it?
Yeah, Liverpool. Yeah. He's played at Anfield before, Cooper. 6-0.
6-0. Torres hat-trick, was it?
I think so, yeah. But he started in that game. So I think that's his only Premier League appearance. And I mean, hopefully that's not an omen for what will happen in a couple of weeks' time. But
I mean, I'm sure he'll be keen to put that right. But he's a good player. But that's what I mean about Premier League experience, and he's obviously one of the real leaders in the dressing room as a captain. And I think it makes sense to have leaders who have had that experience. If the players that you're relying on to pull the team forward and everything don't necessarily have the experience or quality to compete at that level, it can harm the team. So obviously you can't just pluck that experience from anywhere. He's an important player for Leeds, as the likes of Ireland and Phillips and the rest of them. They don't have experience. You can't put that from nowhere. They will get it this year, but I do think that's why I think staying in the league will be the goal for Leeds this season, really. But yeah, exciting signings. Rodrigo obviously is smashing the transfer record. I think for that kind of money, I've got to be honest, I think you could have possibly found someone who will be a little bit more of a prolific signing. But again, like you've said, he can play possibly anywhere across the front line. He's a clever player. He's a hard worker. So, Bielsa's obviously very thorough and particular with the players that he signs. He knows exactly who he's signing and what he wants to do with them. So, I think it's the same with Klopp. You've got to trust that the signing isn't always the most maybe spectacular that it could be, but there's a plan for the player, and there's a plan for where the player will fit into the system.
Well, that's exactly right, because you say about Rodrigo, I think Victor Orta, who's the football director, he does all the transfers and everything. He put his name to Bielsa. Bielsa likes him, and he said, "How is it possible?" And then they obviously went and got him. They tend to track players for long periods of time, and I think Rodrigo was an Ancock as well, because they were both players that were tracked for some time that Bielsa likes to look of. And like you say, he is very particular. I think he sets out a list of 5 players in each position that he wants to strengthen in, starting from sort of attainable to kind of a little bit impossible. But like I say, these owners, Radrazani and the people that are working with him, like Victor Orta, are very ambitious in what they want to do. I mean, that's
It's a way to go. It doesn't always work, but I think you have to be seen, especially to be making an effort for the fans. There'd be nothing worse than for Leeds to go up, and all everything that goes with that after such a long time, and then kind of have a really underwhelming transfer window. It's a lot of it is to get the fans on side and to get the excitement levels up as well. That's important. Less so when there's fans not in the stadium, obviously, but you want to be going into the season with a good feeling around the club. So in a way, it doesn't necessarily matter exactly who you sign, as long as you get. There were gaps that needed filling in the squad. Like you say, Bielsa does have his targets, and I think when you've got a list of targets like that, it doesn't necessarily matter if you get the top one or if you get the second one, because the profile of the player is going to be similar. The characteristics, they do a lot of research into who they're signing, from a personal point of view. So I think it's anybody who Bielsa identifies is going to add something to the squad. So excited to see, and maybe there's more on the way.